Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here again today. Let's check out and see where we're at. It is the 11th of August, 2015. Our sun sign is in Leo. That would be the tarot card of strength. Our moon sign is in Cancer. That's the tarot card of the Chariot. So we have fire and water, just like we had yesterday. Fire and water. So we know how in life these two elements operate, right? We work with fire, we work with water every day. So same thing in life. Fire is ideas, water is emotion. So as we go into the world, those are the elements that are playing the biggest part in what's going on around us today. So as we go through the world, when there's a lot of emotions, we have to be like the warrior, the chariot. Okay? This is a being who's wearing armor because there are so many emotions around so much water. You have to protect oneself from that because those emotions can come in and buttons can get pushed real easily when the emotions are overcharged. In the same way, with fire, with the ideas, there can be so many ideas that we can be overcharged by those. We can get frustrated sometimes if we have too many ideas that we don't know how to channel properly. So we use the inner part of who we are, that pure part of ourselves, to tame who and what we're about, the unconscious. And together we can get these working all very nicely, moving in the same direction, okay? Remember, the charioteer is all about spirit, letting spirit work through you. You have a vehicle, which is the chariot. Inside the vehicle is a man. The man is a vehicle. The man is inside the armor. Inside the armor is the man. Inside the man is spirit. When we allow spirit to flow through us, it allows us to be able to answer the riddles of life. We have two riddles, black and white, the opposites of life. We have our riddles. So if we allow spirit to flow through us, it allows us to be able to move through life smoothly, answering all of the riddles of life, making our way through the dualities, and being really more focused about who and what we're about. Some of the other aspects we're dealing with today, in a little bit, 8:16 a.m., we have an opposition. This is an opposition between the moon sign and Pluto. If we jump over here and we look at the wheel, we could take a look at that. Here is our moon, so opposite, right there. There's our opposition. Opposition is like a teeter-totter. Here's one side of the teeter-totter. Here's the other side. We all know from being on teeter-totters, it works best when both parties work nicely. If one of the sides decides to jump off, well, that messes up the ride for both sides because the other guy just falls down. Okay, so we have emotions right here, and deep transformation, Capricorn. Capricorn is all about the physical world. So the physical world and the emotional world are the two things that are opposing each other. One is dealing with our subconscious, the moon. One is dealing with deep transformation. So those opposites are always important because we get to see things sometimes in ways that really help us to see things more clearly. Then we have a day free of aspects until we get to the evening time. And then we have an aspect between the moon and Uranus. The moon and Uranus. Uranus is all about unexpected changes. And here we have a square. Square is a lesson. Okay, it means there's a lesson taking place. Here is our moon sign. Here's Uranus, so we can see 1, 2, 3. So when you get 3 houses away, that would be where we have this square coming into play here. Okay? So we have this nice, good square. And the square says there's a lesson in our subconscious, our emotional world, and something unexpected. 8:27 p.m. Pacific time is when that aspect takes place. And then a little bit after that, just shy of 10 o'clock, we have a trine, and this is between Chiron and Chiron, the wounded healer. The wounded part of ourself that when we heal it becomes much stronger so we can be more effective in the world. And this is dealing with our emotions. So our emotions definitely play a part in who and what we're about, how we feel healed, and so on. Right, moving on from there, look at the Jewish calendar. It's the 26th of Av. 26 Av, we can see there's just a few more days left in this month of Av in the Jewish calendar, and then it's going to change over to the next month. The daily thought for today is earned living. All that can be cherished from this world, all that makes life worth living, is that which is mined from its bowels through its own toil, fashioned from its clay by your own craft, fired in the kiln of your own heart, that for which you bruised your hands and wearied your limbs, for which you beat back the beast inside you, for which you defied a mocking world. Oh, how precious, how resplendent a feast, a life forged by the hands of its own master. Current moon phase is a waning moon, 9% left until we get back to the new moon. Space weather, our solar winds could get 46.7 kilometers per second. Planetary cadence at the moment is quiet, between a 2 and a 3. We have a coronal hole opening up here, but no notification yet that we're going to hit anything from it. M-class flare possibilities, same as yesterday, 25. Geomagnetic storm, or X-class is 5. Geomagnetic storm activity is pretty low, 10% in the mid latitudes, 15%, 20% in the higher latitudes. And looking up at the sky tonight, we do have the map here. See our moon, Procyon, Mars, Pollux, Castor. There's all around a red long period variable star Chi Cygni is near maximum. As of August 7th, it was reported at maximum magnitude 4.5. Okay, so this is what we're looking at as you look up in the sky tonight. Here's the dawn coming into today. All right, and there you have it. That is our cosmic weather for today. Just remember as you go into the world what's going on so that you can act accordingly and not get thrown around by the whims of the world, but actually be much more effective with all of that. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alrighty, Dirk. Thank you very much. First sighting right over here takes us over to Crimea. Got some glowing purple lights in the sky there in Crimea. All right. Says first off, these UFOs were seen over the ocean coastal area. They probably have a base below the Black Sea. The large orbs seem to have the ability to separate themselves from one another and reunite again. Although we can only see a fragment of the video, it looks and sounds authentic. I'll try to get full footage. On this day, roughly around 23 hours and 30 minutes, I went to the water, the flowers in the balcony. I saw the house next door, and I noticed at first thought was a satellite flying, but it turned out to be a beautiful cluster of UFOs in size and color reminiscent of the stars. Just fixing something here so you can see this a little better. There we go. reminiscent of the stars. The cluster has been stretched and moved over the southeast to southwest. In it were about 30 UFOs, not less, wrote Victoria. According to the woman, the cluster presents the main ship called the mothership. In viewing the captured video, we saw that it was a very dense cluster of UFOs. It moved in a band and changed their position. Then they started to rise. Instantly realizing the cluster was leaving our field of view, my son ran into the street. In the courtyard on a bench sat a man and woman. They were loudly discussing incredible fact of the UFOs ahead. Over time, the UFOs began to resemble a light cloud, cobweb, as a mothership, an extraordinary star. Pay attention to the video, says Victoria. The main ship captured a UFO, not the stars, that's for sure. Fortunately, the camera cannot convey the beauty of the spectacle, and beauty is not fully included in the frame. What he saw was nothing. On discovery that the cluster disappeared, a man sitting on the bench in the yard said to his companion, "Come, let's go to prepare." And then we arrived for them to pick us up. Okay, so there you go. That is the purple UFO over Crimea in Russia. All right, here we have another sighting. This one is found using a Google Moon, and it's supposed to be an alien ship up on the moon. A closer image of it looks definitely like some sort of ship-like object. Doesn't look like the terrain. Now this is kind of cool. This guy uses Google Moon to find the structure, as he is Alta Visa of YouTube. Its shape and size was similar to other structures I have seen, so I have a look at it. Coordinates he gave took me right there, but not far away. You see is a small black ship. The ship is shaped like the whale of sorts. Aliens are copying nature's designs. Perfect schematics. Google Ruler says the black ship is 26.5 meters long. The base near it is 162 meters long. Okay, here's the video itself is 13 minutes in length. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to leave this for you so you can check it out, see how he got there using Google Moon. And I'm going to the next sighting here, which is this UFOs were seen by a fisherman. And this was Lake Iznik in Turkey, August. There's our object in question, a larger view. Okay, this UFO was seen by fishermen hiding in the reeds in the lake. The object was hiding from them. It was clearly controlled by intelligence. It was afraid, trying to be seen. Later, as it was followed by the fishermen, it cloaked itself so they could not see it. I wonder why the UFO drone didn't cloak earlier. Alright, it says here, villagers claim to have seen a UFO at Lake Iznik. Iznik is a lake in the district of, and it all just went one way. It all just disappeared right before our eyes. Lake Iznik. Alright, stop moving. Stop moving. The middle of I'm getting there. Of Bursa. That is where the alleged UFO was seen in the morning by fishermen. Germain and his friends at Iznik Lake were in their boat fishing. The morning at 6 a.m., Iznik Coast Guard heard a strange sound in the trees in the villages near the fishermen. The noise is common, especially if it was a big bird trapped between the reeds. However, they quickly got up, approached it in front of the body they never knew, and they saw the end of the lake. Anxious glances fly. Fisherman sailing under foreign body. He recorded the UFO on his mobile phone. Was suspended in air. Okay, pretty cool. And that is the fisherman sighting. Here we have UFO footage, something strange at space station leading to conspiracy claims. Okay, here's our Earth in question. The object. For nearly day one of the modern UFO era, the subject of UFOs has been associated and clouded with all sorts of conspiracy theories, official censorship, and deliberate cover-ups of information and releases of disinformation. Of course, there are things that need to be kept secret, but not all, especially when the images were taken from credible people. Alien changers think that astronauts on board are being monitored by extraterrestrials daily. As it spans across space, there was the latest video being taken from NASA footage in one of the ISS cameras. Okay, so yet one of many things that are seen up there. And moving on. Illinois UFO sighting, orb capture on video. Right there. Despite well-liked belief, the word UFO is an abbreviation of an unidentified flying object. Apparently, the word does not signify flying saucer or a spaceship. In fact, it applies an object captured in the sky. Since it is unidentified, it is not really identified by the observer. It may apply to the unusual weather conditions or military plane that are not commonly noticed in the human eyes. Because they are rare, people connect them with aliens and spacecraft. Yes, it is rare, but the occurrences are increasingly becoming a standard sighting. Day by day, several witness reports sighting in their vicinities. These witnesses range from professional pilots, celebrities, and other random public. In Oak Park, Illinois, one witness claimed to have captured an unidentified object when he tried to capture a video of a storm emerging from the heat lightning. Okay, and play this again. It happens really fast. Alright, best thing to do is go ahead and take this video, enlarge it, check it out. Alright, then one last piece here. This one says just another book on the afterlife, and it asks the question, is heaven just another UFO destination? Author and UFO investigator Diane Tessman says the fear of death hangs as a shadow over the life of everyone at one time or another. We dread the extinction of our consciousness or suffering, the loss of the loved ones and the most dear. But in the new book from Inner Light Global Communications titled UFOs, Are They Your Passport to Heaven or Other Unearthly Realms? The former teacher and Anchor, Iowa resident shines an entirely new bright light on that grim darkness as she examines the surprising relationship between flying saucers and a near-Earth experience, among many other mind-bending aspects of what we can call the spirit world or the afterlife. After more than 30 years of research into the possibility of afterlife, Ms. Tessman has begun to ask, are some UFO occupants actually human souls who have traveled forward to a new level of existence? Or are the UFOs themselves actually human spirits blazing across the skies as they celebrate their new, higher level of life? After all these years, we still do not know the truth about UFOs. However, I now consider the very real possibility that the UFO phenomenon is an aspect of our own immortality, our own life after death. All right, sounds like a very interesting book. So check it out. The links are available. That is our UFO news. I'm going to jump over for a moment. I'll be back. continue on. Let's continue on. Okay. So, where do we go from here? I'll tell you where we're going to go from here. We're going to talk about the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, I've been talking, and in some ways could seem almost a generalization of what I've been talking about. But today I didn't want to just be generalizing. I wanted to speak to you and give you a little bit more direct information about media manipulation so you understand. See, media manipulation has been going on for a long time, a lot longer than any of us have been around here. It goes back to the early 1900s, and it's continued from that time onward. So let's just jump right into it here. This first bit of information, this is called the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, and the New World Order. You may have heard this term, Council on Foreign Relations, or seen this term oftentimes when the mainstream media runs the shows. You'll see information on there and about the credits of the people who are on the show, and that's what we get, CFR. So it says, for those, and this is by WEB, for those who may be confused by the controversy surrounding the New World Order, a one-world government, and the American concern over giving the UN more power, those unaware of the issues involved, and those wishing more background, I offer the following. Originally presented for an honors class, Dilemmas of War and Peace at New Mexico State University, the paper was ridiculed and criticized by Dr. Yosef Lapid, an acknowledged and locally quoted expert in terrorism and Middle Eastern affairs, and he said it was paranoid, possibly a symptom of mental illness. You judge for yourself. Citing source data as the scientific method, but does not seem to apply to conspiracy theories. 1,000 sources may be quoted, yet will not convince the skeptics, the realists. It seems to me that the symptoms of mental illness are on their side, if they refuse to look at evidence. There are none so blind as those who will not see, or perhaps something more sinister is at work, such as a knowledge of the truth that does not want you to know. To be paranoid means to believe in delusions of danger and persecution. If the danger is real and the evidence is credible, then it cannot be delusional. To ignore the evidence and hope that it cannot be true is more evidence of mental illness. The issue involves more than a difference of philosophy or political viewpoint. Growing up in the midst of the Cold War, our generations were taught that those who attempted to abolish our national sovereignty and overthrow our constitutional government were committing acts of treason. Please judge for yourself if this group discussed is guilty of such. If one group is effectively in control of national governments and multinational corporations, promotes world government throughout the control of media, foundation grants and education, and controls the guides, the issues of the day, then they control most options available. The Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, and the financial powers behind it have done all these things and promote the New World Order as they have for over 70 years. The CFR is the promotional arm of the ruling elite in the United States of America. Most influential politicians, academics, and media personalities are members, and it uses its influence to infiltrate the New World Order into American life. Its experts write scholarly pieces to be used in decision-making. The academics expound on the wisdom of a united world, and the media members disseminate the message. To understand how the influential people in America came to be a member of the organization working purposely for the overthrow of the Constitution and the American sovereignty, we have to go back at least to the early 1900s, though the story begins much earlier depending on your viewpoint and beliefs. That a ruling power elite does indeed control the U.S. government behind the scenes has been attested to by many Americans in a position to know. Felix Frankfurter, Justice of the Supreme Court between 1939 and 62, said the real rulers in Washington are invisible and exercise power from behind the scenes. In a letter to an associate dated November 21, 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt wrote, "The real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial element in the large centers has owned the government ever since the days of Andrew Jackson." February 23, 1954, Senator William Jenner warned in a speech, "Outwardly we have a constitutional government. We have operating within our government and political system another body representing another form of government, a bureaucratic elite which believes our Constitution is outmodeled. Baron M.A. Rothschild wrote, "Give me control over a nation's currency, and I care not who makes its laws." All that is indeed to be effectively control the government is to have control over the nation's money, a central bank, and a monopoly over the supply of money and credit. This had been done in Western Europe with the creation of privately owned central banks such as the Bank of England. Georgetown professor Dr. Carroll Quigley, Bill Clinton's mentor while at Georgetown, wrote about the goals of the investment bankers who control central banks. Nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole, controlled by a federalist fashion, by the central banks of the world acting in concert, by secret governments arrived at in frequent private meetings and conferences. The Bank of the United States, 1816 to 1836, an early attempt at an American central bank, was abolished by President Andrew Jackson, who believed that it threatened the nation. He wrote that the bold efforts the present bank has made to control the government, the distress it has wantonly produced, are but premonitions of the fate that awaits the American people should they be deluded into the perception of the institution of the establishment of another like it. Thomas Jefferson wrote that the central bank is an institution of the most deadly hostility existing against the principles and forms of our Constitution. If the American people allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporations will grow up around them, will deprive the people of all of their property until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Does that not describe the situation in America today? The U.S. managed to do without a central bank until early in this century, when, according to Congressman Charles Lindbergh Sr., the money trust caused the 1907 panic and thereby forced Congress to create a National Monetary Commission, headed by Senator Nelson Aldrich, father-in-law of John D. Rockefeller. The commission recommended creation of a central bank. Though unconstitutional, as only the Congress shall have the power to coin money, regulate the value thereof, the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913 ostensibly to stabilize the economy and prevent further panics. But as the Lindberghs warned Congress, this act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth, the invisible government, by the money power proven to exist by the money trust investigation, will be legalized. The Great Depression and the numerous recessions later. It is obvious the Federal Reserve produces inflation and federal debt whenever it desires, but not stably. Congressman Louis McFadden, House Committee on Banking and Currency Chairman, stated that when the Federal Reserve Act was passed, the people of the United States did not perceive that a world banking system was being set up here, a superstate controlled by international bankers and industrialists acting together to enslave the world. Every effort has been made by the Fed to conceal its powers, but the truth is the Fed has usurped the government. Although called federal, the Federal Reserve System is privately owned by member banks. It makes its own policies and is not subject to oversight by Congress or the President. As the overseer and supplier of the reserves, the Fed gave banks access to public funds which enhanced their lending capability. Peter Kershaw in Economic Solutions lists the 10 major shareholders of the Federal Reserve Bank system as Rothschild, London and Berlin, Lazard Brothers, Paris, Israel, Saif, Italy, Kuhn Loeb Company, Germany, Warburg, Hamburg, and Amsterdam, Lehman Brothers, New York, Goldman and Sachs, New York, Rockefeller, New York. That most of it is not all. These families just happen to be Jewish. You may judge the significance of yourself. The balance of stock is owned by major commercial member banks. According to Davy Kidd, Why a Bankrupt America? The Federal Reserve pays the Bureau of Engraving and Printing approximately $23 for each 1,000 notes printed. 10,000 $100 notes, $1 million, would thus cost the Federal Reserve $230. Then they secure a pledge of collateral equal to the face value of the U.S. government. The collateral is our land, labor, and our assets, collected by their agents, the IRS. By authoring the Fed to regulate and create money, Congress gave private banks the power to create profits at will. As Lindbergh put it, the new law will create inflation whenever the trust want inflation. They can unload the stocks on the people at high prices during the excitement and then bring on a panic and buy them back at a low price. The day of reckoning is only a few years removed. That day came in 1929 with the stock market crash and the Great Depression. One of the most important powers given to the Fed was the right to buy and sell government securities to provide loans to member banks so they might also purchase them. This provided a built-in mechanism for the profits of the banks if the government debt was increased. All of that was needed was a method to pay off the debt. This was accomplished through the passage of the income tax in 1913. Okay, so this kind of gives you an idea. You can see there's a lot of information here. Okay, that's the backstory to what it is we need to know. So now I'm going to go over to this next page here. And the video, it's 58 minutes in length. I'm going to encourage you to watch this because this is a very good video on the subject. But this now gets more into the CFR and how it fits into all of this. The CFR, or Council on Foreign Relations, is an organization sister to the Royal Institute of International Affairs in Britain. Both were founded in 1921, right after World War I, when the League of Nations idea failed. The sole purpose of such organization is to condition the public to accept a global governance, which today is the United Nations. This is the true face of the so-called globalist, and centralized power is what they are really after. From 1989 to 1993, during the administration of Skull and Bones President George H.W. Bush, with the exception of Vice President Don Zombie Quayle, his pal Secretary of State James A. Baker III, and Health Human Services Secretary Louis W. Sullivan, all cabinet members were of the ultra-secretive CFR. From 1993 to 2000, in the Bill Waco Clinton administration, with the exception of Secretary of Defense William Perry, all cabinet members were on the CFR. From 2001 to 2009, in the dreaded George W. Bush administration, all cabinet members were CFR operatives. Vice President Dick Cheney, Secretary of State Colin Powell, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, Secretary of Labor Elaine Chao, and EPA Administrator Christian William Todd Whitman. And then from 2009 on, in the Barack Disco Dancer Obama administration, we see the following: Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Bilderberg Group, a step up, just as bad as the CFR. We have Robert Gates, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano, Secretary of Commerce Bill Richardson, UN Ambassador Susan Rice, National Security Advisor James Jones, Secretary of Treasury Timothy Geithner, Director of National Economic Council L.H. Summers, and Economic Advisor Paul Volcker. Okay, this is a video on the news fabrication and also on the powers that really run the big media. The hidden control of the Council on the Foreign Relations. There does exist and has existed for a generation an international Anglophile network which operates to some extent in the way that the radical right believes the communists act. In fact, this network, which we may identify as the Round Table, comparable to the CFR in the U.S., has no aversion to cooperating with the communists or other groups, and frequently does. I know of operation of this network because I was permitted for 2 years in the early 1960s to examine the papers and secret records. Professor Carol Quigley. At the end of the War of 1914, it became clear that the organization of the system had to be greatly extended. The task was instructed to Lionel Curtis, who established in England in each dominion of front organization to the existing local roundtable group. The front organization, called the Royal Institute of International Affairs, had its nucleus in each area that the existing submerged roundtable group. In New York, it was known as the Council on Foreign Relations and was a front for the J.P. Morgan and Company. In fact, the original plans for the Royal Institute of International Affairs and the Council on Foreign Relations were drawn up in Paris. The powers of financial capitalism has another far-reaching aim, nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in the private hands and to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. As white insiders have been guiding the CFR towards global control, includes familiar names such as David Rockefeller, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, Bill Clinton, Brent Scowcroft. These men have led and instructed our presidents, cabinets again and again. They and countless others work silently behind the scenes to accomplish their goal of a socialist communitarian world government. They may call themselves Republicans or Democrats, it doesn't really matter. They control the financial resources needed to manipulate the economy and to accomplish their goals. A little history here. It says in the 70s, Oxford professor John Ruskin persuaded the elite British students that they had a moral obligation to disseminate English culture and unite the world under British rule. By early 1900s, many of the students held strategic positions in the English government. None of his students would have spread the vision more effectively than Cecil Rhodes, who accumulated the needed wealth in African gold and diamond mines. Rhodes wrote, "The Society of the Elect should inspire and even own portions of the press, for the press rules the mind of the people. The society should always be searching for members who might, by their position in the world or their energies or character, forward the object." In 1890, Rhodes sent his friend W.T. Stead a letter explaining his plan for a world government. "The key of my idea discussed with you is a society copied from the Jesuits as to organization, rising levels of secrecy and Freemason, an idea which ultimately leads to the cessation of all wars and one language throughout the world. The only thing feasible to carry this idea out is a secret one, a secret society gradually absorbing the wealth of the world to be voted to such an object." To fulfill this goal, Rhodes established the Rhodes Trust, the inner circle of the secret society, the Society of the Elect. It included Freemason Lord Alfred Milner, William T. Stead, Reginald Baylor Brett, titled Lord Asher. When Rhodes died in 1902, he left the society, the Rhodes Trust, and the leadership primarily in the hands of Lord Milner. This roundtable group would eventually establish numerous international branches, and the USA would be called the Council on Foreign Relations. Few have done more to expose the revolutionary agenda than Carroll Quigley, the history professor at the Foreign Service Schools of Georgetown University, whom Clinton honored in his acceptance speech at the Democratic Convention, July 16, 1992. By 1915, roundtable groups existed in 7 countries, including England and the United States. Since 1925, they have been substantial contributions from wealthy individuals and from foundations and firms associated with the international banking family, especially organizations associated with J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller. In 1913, President Woodrow Wilson explained his concern over the secret movement towards world government. "We are all in a new world government, and business must be associated closely. We stand in the presence of a revolution which will come into a peaceful guise." Okay, here we go. The CFR was founded in 1921, mainly through the mysterious Round Table. Insider Colonel Mandell House, President Wilson's counter ego, said it would be the U.S. equivalent of the British Royal Institute of International Affairs, as you read earlier. The task was entrusted to Lionel Curtis, who established in England in each dominion a front organization to the existing Round Table group. In America, it was the Council on Foreign Relations. Okay, so there's a lot more to this, as you can see, and I'm certainly not going to have the time right here to be able to go over all of that. However, I'm going to leave that for you to check out on your own, because what is there is very significant. And what is there really shows you this media control that has been going on for such a long period of time. 1921. Do you know anybody that was born prior to 1921? If you do, they know what life was like before the media began to really be controlled. However, everybody else that's been born since 1921, guess what? You've been growing up in a society that is all about manipulation. That's already been manipulated. You see, what they did was they started off by buying off the top 25 media outlets at that time, placing a member of their organization, the Council on Foreign Relations, inside each one so they could maintain control, report back to the main head at the CFR. And that's how media is controlled. So I would like you to watch that video, read through those pages, and really understand, because once you understand that our media, our mainstream media, is manipulated, once you understand that, then perhaps you'll be able to once and for all turn the television off on those stories that they call news programs, because you realize they are not really news programs. They are just programming you with the news that they want you to know. And those stories in the news do not necessarily have anything to do with what's going on in reality. It's all about programming you. How to program you to do what they want. And you get the talking heads to repeat over and over and over their agenda. Now that you know what you know about the Council on Foreign Relations, even if you don't read any more, look at the news now from that perspective and understand what they're doing. Look at it much more with a critical eye, and you'll see what's really going on. All right, so let's jump away from there now, and let's take a look back at our Dreamspell as we continue to figure this out here. Okay, this is lesson 4. The 260-day Zolkin fits perfectly with and runs alongside our 360-day solar calendar. The two cycles, combined 260 and 365-day, create a 13-moon calendar or synchrometer. The 13-moon, 28-day system embraces and synchronizes all true calendrical and mathematical systems, from the Mayan long count to the Elder Furthank runes to the I Ching hexagrams. In other words, this system reveals a master matrix, which contains and unifies all other systems. By attuning to the 1328 matrix, our mind begins to reorganize and open to new perceptions. Every 52 years, the 260-day Zolkin count and the Earth's 365-day solar year sync back up. For example, if you are a white planetary mirror and you were born on 4/6/1970, then exactly 52 years later, on 4/6/2022, it will be white planetary mirror again. A calendar is a template of time. The calendar we typically follow, called the Gregorian calendar, has created a time warp or distortion matrix. Of the many calendars used by humans, this 13-moon natural time synchrometer is the only calendar that takes into account the unity of planetary and galactic time. This calendar is actually a synchrometer, which is a measure of synchronicity. It is a unique timing device coded by a galactic language that enters us into mythical and archetypal realms of thought. As we tune into its cycles, we extend our consciousness beyond any notion of the third dimension as being the only reality. The 365-day orbit of Earth around the Sun naturally divides into 13 28-day sequences. That equals 364 days, which correspond to the 13 lunations occurring during one solar year, plus one extra day, July 25th, called the Day Out of Time, and this is a day to practice time as art and peace through culture. It is the first galactic holiday celebrated. Observe the graphic of the 12-month Gregorian calendar next to the 13-moon 28-day calendar. Count the extra days beyond the 28th day of each Gregorian month, and you will find the sum is 29. It is this 28 days of the 13th hidden moon and the day out of time. In other words, instead of 13 moons with 28 days each, the Gregorian calendar distributes the 13th month as extra days randomly added to 11 of the 12 months. Okay? That is that lesson. So, just to summarize, we have 4 weeks. Each week is 7 days long. Those 4 weeks of 7 days equal 28 days. That equals 1 moon. During the course of a year, a solar year, there are 13 of these moon cycles that occur. 13 of them. 13 times 28 equals 364. There are 365 total days in a year, so there's one extra day. And then, according to this system, what you do is that day is called the day out of time, and you take that time off. as a day when the cycle ends and a new cycle is ready to begin. It's like New Year's Day. Just imagine if after New Year's Eve and before New Year's Day, there was a day where we had off just to consider where we came from and where we're going. Think of how many people go out and they celebrate on New Year's Eve, and then they wake up New Year's Day and they're in that fog because they were celebrating the night before. Wouldn't it be nice if you could wake up, it was a day at a time, you didn't have to worry about things, and the next day you could start fresh? That's the whole idea of this system. It's a different system than the Gregorian calendar because, as it says, it helps us to measure synchronicities. And life is a series of synchronicities that keep occurring over and over and over. So all we have to do is pay attention to the synchronicities. And with the system, we're able to chart these synchronicities and really see when and how they're taking place in our life. Because there's synchronicities that are occurring personally, and then there's bigger synchronicities that are occurring out here in the universe. Right? So that's the lesson for today. There's an article at In5D from Kathy J. Forte, the September 2015 Wave X Awakening. I once had media and communications professor ask a packed auditorium of journalism students the interesting question, what is the singular factor that affects all of humanity? A factor that can start or stop wars, that can raise up civilizations or destroy them. That one student could come up with the right yet so obvious answer. Space weather. Almost 35 years later, I still remember his words. When I heard Dr. Simon Atkins recently talk about the Wave X shift of 2015, it made complete sense. Atkins is a well-known climate risk economist and planetary threat forecaster with a doctorate in biometeoelectromagnetics. He uses the science of magnetism to bring clarity to what is presently occurring in our world. Space weather not only influences but guides humanity. Statistics show that when there are intense solar flares from space, 82% of the time there's a downshift in the stock market 1 to 3 days later. These same solar flare peaks are known to cause eruptions of violence between classes. It's a natural phenomenon. It's all due to magnetic waves that ultimately affect every living organism on the planet. On a positive note, there are those coronal mass ejections or otherwise known as CMEs. Humans are more likely to experience euphoria, calmness, and ultimately peace. CMEs are explosions of electricity and energy in the forms of electrons and protons, according to NASA. This magnetic energy that comes from our sun, which is why the ancients saw the sun as the God source, actually elevates consciousness levels. The sun is the great benefactor. If you stay out of the sun, you quickly lose your connection to your third eye consciousness. You can also experience depression or other illness. I experienced this firsthand many years ago when I worked in the darkened lab doing altered state studies in the daylight hours. I started not only getting oily skin and breaking out with facial eruptions, which I had never had, but I quickly became depressed. Something told me to take 15-minute breaks outside each day and just sit in the sun. It was like a miracle cure. Like a plant, we need the light to thrive. Without it, it will lead to dysfunction, be it emotional and or physical. It's a lesson I never forgot. The big secret is the sun is also connected to our evolutionary awakening. During the last half of September 2015, there is a powerful wave of gamma light coming from the galactic core. This intergalactic Wave X energy will be coming through to the Earth at maximum speed and peaking on September 28th. We are already well into it and feeling its effects. It happens every 3,600 years and is being called the event horizon. It is the next step in the evolutionary cycle of man. As reported by Time magazine, scientists know about this event but are questioning what these mysterious intergalactic bursts are, or more importantly, what they will bring. Change for sure. It's no coincidence that in the last 18 months, worldwide earthquakes have suddenly quadrupled as this energy is beginning to be felt more and more on this planet. The Earth is doing strange things. People of all countries and even the media have reported eerie sounding or rather loud groaning sounds coming from the Earth. Expect more in August as these signs of dimensional portals opening in the Earth itself. Intergalactic Wave X is getting close. This is no Armageddon scenario, as many biblical inherents are predicting, but a time when our cellular DNA is able to shift and open up our true gifts. Okay, there's a lot to this article. I'm going to go back down to the bottom here. It says if you talk to most people these days, they're all feeling something is getting ready to happen in the next month or two. Most don't know what it is, but they can sense it, whether it be a global currency reset, financial collapse, civil chaos, more earthquakes, or something else. As a collective mass, we are at the precipice of a new world emerging. Trust that this is not the end. You may be feeling more tired than usual lately, like you just can't get enough restorative sleep. Maybe you even take a power nap, which is good. Take care of yourself. Your cells are already beginning to feel the energy change. No sense fighting it. It will be interesting to see what emerges for all of us. Okay? So again, another confirmation. Things are changing. Energy around us is being excited. We need to really keep on target with all that's going on so that we're not caught off guard as it is happening. All right, that brings us to our message today from Saint Germain. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
Messages from Saint Germain, Hilarion, and Lord Sananda.
August 2015, channeled by Cindy McGonigal.
Message from Ascended Master Saint Germain.
Greetings. For August is the month of great transformation as the earth shifts yet again. Where floods and wind have cleaned areas of the country, rebirthing new communities to strengthen and come together by helping each other, to realize how the earth is changing the landscape where you live with these drastic warmer and colder periods of time. The plants are the signalers of these changes. For those of you connected with growing crops, the plants are displaying the seasonal changes of increased warmth. Watch the birds that store food for the winter too, for they will be showing signs of the winter to come. Eating fresh produce from a garden you grow or from a local farm will allow your physical body a chance to absorb the new RNA solar energies that are helping the earth raise its consciousness. Salt also carries properties of the transformational nature of the earth's ever-evolving resources. Mixing dried herbs that you grow with natural sea salt will help your physical body also shift into a more balanced state. As humans continue to work more closely with the plant kingdom, its gifts will continue to teach you the true magic of its health benefits. For those of you that can telepathically connect with the plant spirits, take notes and share their messages, for much wisdom is available. Much love, Saint Germain.
Message from Ascended Master Hilarion.
Greetings, dear ones. Summer in the Northern Hemisphere continues with major climatic changes. It is important for your diets to consist of local foods grown in your area that provide maximum nutrition. Your physical bodies are going through some cellular changes as the solar rays are intensifying. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, winter also demands you eat dense foods, with high concentrations of nutrients to keep your energy levels balanced. Take time each day to rest and relax from your daily routine. Give your mind time to just be in the moment and enjoy a peaceful time. Meditation is always a healthy means of allowing your spirit to be in charge and give your ego mind time to get quiet and not be in charge. Drink plenty of water, sleep regular hours, write down what you are grateful for, share time with your family and friends by enjoying each other's company. Appreciate the gifts that create your life here on earth. Keep things simple, share what you have with others and be kind to one another. Love to all who are listening with their hearts and souls. Ascended Master Hilarion.
Message from Lord Sananda.
The sun's energy is very intense now, with many solar flares that will affect Earth's atmosphere. As you are constantly being bombarded by these higher intense frequencies, your etheric body becomes charged as well, and you will need to spend time grounding yourself by breathing and releasing, and sending your energies to the earth and mixing them with the earth's energies. Do this by taking several deep breaths, running your breath up and down your chakras, mixing with the earth's grounding energies. You will notice an immediate calming in your body when you do this. The breath work is especially important when dealing with stressful, traumatic, or emotional situations that trigger anxiety for you. We of the Ascended Realm are always here to help you. Just request our help and know we are right beside you when you call us to you. Become more familiar with the archangels, especially Archangel Michael for protection, and Archangel Raphael for increased psychic abilities, and deep level of healing when you need it most. Take time each day to provide yourself a calm place to rest and retreat to. Even taking a break in your normal schedule for 5 minutes can bring you needed relief. Your body, mind, and spirit will thank you for taking the time to rejuvenate yourself during these intense times. Love and support to all. Lord Sananda.
All right, very nice. So there you have it. That is our message for today from spiritual message for today. Now, Warrior of the Light, we're at page 82. A warrior does not keep company with those who wish to harm him, nor is he seen in the company of those who want to console him. He avoids anyone who is by his side in the event of a defeat. There are false friends that want to prove that weakness is rewarded. They always bring him bad news. They always try to destroy the warrior's confidence under all cloaks of solidarity. When they see him wounded, they dissolve in tears, but in their heart of hearts they are happy because the warrior has lost the battle. They do not understand that this is all part of the fight. The true companions of the warrior are beside him always, during the difficult times and the easy times. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. Now let's imagine all of our chakras are activated. Bottom of the spine, color red, drawing the energy from the earth. At the belly button, the color orange. This is the emotional chakra. The energy is drawn up from the lower root chakra. And then the energy raises higher to the yellow chakra just below the rib cage in the solar plexus area. This is the chakra that deals with our mental body. And then the energy raises up to the heart. And we have the color green of the heart chakra. This is the center of love. And the energy raises up from there to the throat, and there is the color blue. Blue is the throat chakra. It helps us to communicate into the world. The energy moves up higher into the third eye chakra. There the color is indigo. Here, this is the chakra that helps us see through dimensions of space and time. And then the energy finally moves to the crown chakra, where the color is violet. And then it continues on up into the cosmos, becoming bright white light as it connects deep, deep, deep into the cosmos. So imagine yourself now feeling this energy. And let's just imagine a wave of energy as it goes from the crown chakra through all of the chakras down to the earth, recycles itself and comes back up again to the crown chakra. And just take a moment and feel that energy flowing upward and then downward and upward again. Continue to breathe smoothly throughout this process. Inhale and exhale. And just feel your energy moving through, cleansing your body. And let this energy expand out around you, overflowing your body, filling the room where you are, spreading out further to the neighborhood, to the city, further yet to the state, to the country, across the sea, to the other countries around the world, and back again. And just imagine everyone around the planet that is doing this is helping to connect these energies. Now let's just imagine this feeling of peacefulness, and know that as we go through the day, all we have to do to feel this feeling of peacefulness is simply breathe. So we let our subconscious mind continue on the process of relaxation, reminding us through the course of the day to breathe when we need to breathe, that we might be relaxed. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith, and 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. And that's it, my friends. That is the show for today. Go back, reread through the information. There was a lot of information today, a lot of information about the Council on Foreign Relations. We just kind of started looking at that, but there's a world of info there that will really help you. And once you understand about the media manipulation, that really will free you up to understand so much of what's going on. Don't beat yourself up for the past where you bought into the media manipulation and didn't know. Just chalk it up as a time of learning and move forward from here. Because there's a lot of people been fooled. And a lot of people that have been fooled are going to eventually wake up. So we have to learn to be nice to ourselves during this process. Remember, we're all just going through a learning curve. And now that we know, we move forward with it. Because to take that information and not do anything with it, well, then we're just wasting our time. It's all up to us, my friends. We are the ones we've been waiting for. All we have to do is stand in our own strength, be courageous, and keep bringing the power of God into life. That's it. It's very simple. Trust God, my friends. Trust God. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Till then, have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.